I take this privilege to introduce Anand Kabra, who's a global workforce management head for Cognizant. He is an electronics and telecommunication engineer, and he's done his PGDIM in operations from NIIE. He's got over 2 decades of diverse experience across supply chain, logistics, sales and marketing, Six Sigma, account management, program management, compliance, and human resource. He's worked in companies like Hewlett Packard, Genpact IT Outsourcing, Tata Technologies, GE, and Windmills. He is known for his strong execution skills and capacity to deliver on multiple fronts. His dispassionate approach towards roles and ability to think out of the box and strong analytical skills and data-driven approach has enabled in thinking through abstract and unclear scenarios. He's got strong people skills and capabilities to drive diverse teams towards a win-win objective. Today, he is going to talk about cost optimization with innovation at recovery and growth post this pandemic. Welcome, Anand.
Thanks, Anand.
Anand,
Hi,
over to
thank you
you.
so much. Yep, you can hear me well?
Yes, Anand, I'll just give you presenter access.
Yeah, I think that'll help. Doesn't have. Sorry, does it show up the screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Over to you.
Perfect. So I think it's kind of tough to go after a lot of speakers like Sanjeev and a lot of you all, right? So I was thinking it's almost like a summary, right, which I have for you all in terms of all the earlier sessions, right? So I think most of us covered a lot of stuff around cost and innovation and a lot of stuff around what we should do as a team, right, from a workforce management function standpoint. So what I thought is, let me keep it a little summary view. It's always difficult to go last, right? So I don't want to take a lot of time. Hopefully, I think a lot of questions are already answered, but what I had for you and each one of us is, I think we are entering literally a new paradigm, right? A lot of rules are written again for businesses, for people, for for individuals, personality, everything, right? So I think it's a literally a new paradigm, and that's what I thought I'll keep as a theme, right, for the next 10 minutes, I guess. And what I had was two distinct things in the new paradigm, right, which are changing. Right? The first one is I don't know if you can decode this, right? I'll probably give like 10 seconds for people to just go through it, and then I'll just probably talk about what exactly I was thinking when I was looking at this picture, right? So the red button says that the blue button is true, but the blue button says the red button is false, right? So I think it's about living with contradictions, right? I think there is a lot of contradictions which have come in, and I'll just take some examples, and I think it'll be very clear. And my view is for probably almost the rest of our lives, for quite some time, we'll have to live with a lot of contradictions, right? Let's take some examples. We're all working from home, right? But what I hear from most of the people is there's just no time for anything else to do, but just office. So there is really no home, right? It's only work. We've been always worried about a lot of technology interference in our lives, but I think technology has never ever been so close to human life as what it is right now, right? So that's like one of the second contradictions which I thought I'll put up. But coming back to a little more business, right? I was talking to some of the folks, and I think a lot of people in Amazon and other companies, right, would agree with me that despite a lowered B2C and even C2C transactions, the security risks have become very high. I know of at least about 15 companies, right, who have been subjected to multiple attacks, right, whether it is ransomware or spamware or whatever, right, despite the fact that the overall transactions in the environment is much lower. I mean, another paradox or another contradiction. A lot of high liquidity. I think the spends are going down. Banks have a lot of liquid cash, but the appetite to invest is much lower, right, despite being the high amount of liquidity in the system. more often than not, right? Uncertainties create lag in decision making, but we have seen in the last few months certain critical decisions have been taken overnight, right? Just move everybody to home, start working from there. There have been a lot of drop uh, in the entry or exit barriers for people working from home, getting into networks of customer, all of that, right? So, one more paradox, and I think finally this is probably beating off the track too many times. We're all social animals as human beings, but obviously we need to keep social distancing because this is almost like a survival now. So the point is, I think going forward there will be a lot of contradictions which we as human beings, companies, organizations, employees will have to live through, right? The second one which I had was this picture for you, right? Which is nothing but the second new paradigm, which is a trust deficit, right? So there is definitely a lot more trust deficit which is there in the current era than what it used to be earlier, right? And let's take some examples. So trust deficit between countries. Did Corona actually emanate in China? A lot of trust deficit going on between not just China and US, but China and India, our own neighbors. So countries definitely have a trust deficit, which is lowest ever. This is more in terms of management versus employees. I thought the management intent, right, versus the impact on the employees, in my view, is again at the lowest ever. A lot of trust deficit in terms of people or employees not trusting management not trusting the way the employees are going, and there is definitely a big gap between the intent and the impact which the intent is supposed to have to get optimization, right, of resources. So a clear contradiction, right? So we are hiring and firing at the same time. A lot of deficit of trust between between managers and employees, right? So between the environment, between two distinct roles. Okay, this was the environment which I thought I'll just depict for each one of us. But what are the organizations thinking in this new era? And specifically, since the topic was around cost optimization, I thought we'll call out a couple important imperatives around that, right? So the first, actually, there's just only two for most organizations from a cost standpoint: preserve cash and ensure liquidity, because there are a lot of fixed costs which are eating up into the bottom line. There is a lot of unproductive inventory or material which is lying, which is not getting converted into revenue or products which can be sold. So the costs have to get reduced if we have to ensure enough cash and liquidity. It has to be reduced fast. A lot of organizations, as we have seen, are taking a stab at discretionary spends. And I think Sanjeev spoke about it, and a couple of other speakers also said, introducing variability in the cost as much as possible. Right? So big imperative on cost reduction, reduce cost, reduce it fast, introduce as much variability as much as possible, because we don't know, right, what will be the revenue, what will be the sales, what will be the outcome. So the input has to definitely get as variable as it can. I think all of us have been a part of this one, where the cost structures itself have to be understood in a much better fashion, because it's extremely different across various sectors. And one side, obviously, one size doesn't fit all. For example, in services, it is more resource cost, SGA overheads, versus indirect costs, which will be much higher in the non-services sector. Thus, the driver which are impacting each components of the costs will be different. So I think what's happening is very simple, right? It's simple and complex both. We want to reduce costs, but we want to understand what are the costs which impact us as a from our industry standpoint, and how do we really variabilize and all of that, right? So let's see how does this impact us as workforce management team, talent supply chain, whatever we might call it, right? And what I said is, let me call out what I see as imperatives for us as a function, right? With all these moving pieces of trust deficits, of contradictions. First one, which I thought I'll call out, is there needs to be, and I think Sanjeev also touched upon this one, is upstream clarity and cleanliness on demand, right? Which has to happen, which will save a lot of downstream efforts in terms of reworks, in terms of defects, in terms of rejections, lost time, opportunities. There is, I think, a lot of phantom demand. There is a lot of volatile demand which is there. But I think this is the time where, in my view, we as a team will have to work extremely closely with the teams which sell, which forecast, to really understand what exactly is the real demand, right? So that we don't end up doing a lot of rework, we don't end up carrying a lot of inventory, we don't end up, wasting a lot of input, right? And I think we had a couple of sessions where we said, hey, how forecasting can be improved, but this is about getting very, very close to our sales teams and our customers and really understanding what they are going through, right? Will we get the business or not? Is the business getting subsided? It is getting cut? Are the projects becoming smaller, right? If the projects are smaller, right, how will the resources be moved from one project to another so that there is very, very little bench time, right? So this is the first thing is let's get much more closer to our sales functions, forecasting functions than what we used to be earlier. Going on to the next one, breaking down work and variabilizing the capacity, which will help definitely absorb demand. So I definitely feel there is a lot of part-time work which might come in. There will be breaking down of the work itself, right? Which should happen, which will happen, and there will be from a manpower standpoint. I think the work hours, instead of 40 hours a week, probably might get reduced to about 20, 25, 26 hours, right? Where you might just have the same work or two pieces of the same work being done by two different people, right? So that's about variabilization of capacity, because the demand is so volatile. Obviously, variabilizing it through contingent workforce or through breaking down the work structures will definitely help. Right? So that's the second one. How do we have enough systems, processes to take care of variable demands, smaller pieces of demands, and can we deploy resources according to that? The third one is, and I think this is my favorite, that excess capacity, right? In my view, is not dead capacity. It is future investments with key clients. So I've seen a lot of organization, not just in services industry, but beyond services, also going back to the customers saying that, hey, you always wanted to start this project, but because of budget constraints, right, there was a problem. Why don't we just go ahead and get it done for you? There might be a deferred payment, right, which will impact my DSO kind of a metric, but I'm okay, right, because at least it's a secured revenue for me, and this is something which you always wanted to do. So why don't we just get started? So in my view, I think excess capacity is actually an investment in future, in getting much deeper relationships with our clients, and I think we should as a team see how do we get down to that path of talking to the customers, right, and getting it done. The fourth one is there is definitely a much higher flexibility and acceptance to change, right? I mean, we have all changed from a life which was very different to a life which what we have as at this point in time, and there is a lot of appetite for everyone to probably take a lot of change. And I feel this is probably the time to make some really tough changes. It can be in systems, processes, guidelines. It can be in getting that last level of the value chain, which is the project manager of a particular project, discipline, right, to ensure there is operational discipline in whatever we do. So this is the time when the resistance to change would be the least, and whatever were those small or big projects which we always wanted to do, but we thought there'll be a lot of resistance to change, I think this is the time to just go ahead and implement. And I think workforce management or supply chain processes are the ones which are ever evolving, right? So we just keep changing things at the drop of a hat, and this is the time when we should really look at what were those projects which I could never deploy or implement, right? This is the time, just go ahead and let's do it. And then finally, I think related to the earlier point, my view is this is not the time for big bang change, because it will need a lot of investments, and I think the investment appetite is much lower. So this is the time of doing a lot of continuous, quick, incremental changes, because there is an appetite for people to to get disciplined to accept that change, and just these small incremental changes will finally end up becoming that big bang change which you always wanted to do, right? So So that's my kind of favorite. That hey, it's not always about a big bang change which we have to do, but a lot of incremental changes is what will result in equally big impact, right? And this is the best time to just go ahead and start implementing those. So I think that's pretty much what I had. I'll just stop here by just welcoming you, each one of you and myself to this new paradigm. Let's hope we stay safe, we survive, and we just keep going on. So I'll stop here, Shiva, in case there are any questions, would be happy to take them.
Friends, we have any questions for Anand? Feel free to raise your hand.
I think because it was a summary, most of the questions are answered, Dr. Shiva, so I'll give it back to you.
Anand, not really a question, but an opinion I was seeking from you. You know, you also come with a lot of experience. Do you think this is the time that WFM professionals and WFM is really going to come to the fore because of COVID? And it's not, I mean, it's been coming to the fore, but I think COVID has brought about an environment where planning has become pretty critical and redundancy planning. And with the change environment, that planning is what's going to help. Do you think that's something people should focus and do?
So I don't know if you meant workforce planning very specifically, or did you mean just overall planning?
So workforce for me is planning. Actually, you know, we end up doing all sorts of planning. That's
Yep.
the way I look at it. We end up doing planning for everything. So okay, my organizations, I own quality, I own training, I own WFM. I'm not saying that's the norm everywhere, but that's the way we run it because they're interlinked. We end up and for me especially, you know, I've realized that post-COVID, suddenly everything exploded, literally doubling up requirements. So that's just a thought.
Sure. So I think you know, I'm going back to probably one of the Hindi movies which I realize I'm just getting a dialogue from there, right? It's a movie called Guru, right? Where I think there's this dialogue which Abhishek Bachchan says that hey, when people start talking about you, right, you should really think you're famous. I think this is probably the time where I have at least seen, you know, from my personal experience, the most spoken about function, right, or the most stressed function, almost the pivot is planning and workforce management, right? Because at least in services, you know, 50 to 60% of the cost would be around resources. And when revenues are not in line, right, when the demand is so volatile, the forecasts have gone awry across, it is about how much can you plan much ahead, much better and all, right? So I haven't seen, you know, more discussions ever, right, on talent supply chain or workforce management being involved, right, in planning along with finance, along with the CEO organizations, I mean, along with HR, wherever it belongs to. And I think that proves the role which each one of us are playing for our organizations, right? So I think the importance of the function has never been so much more stressed, right, in any other time. At least that's what I can clearly see.
Thanks, Anand. You helped me reaffirm what I was thinking.
Okay, if there are no more questions, back to you, Dr. Shiva.
Thanks, Anand. Thank you so much for being there. Considering all the busy schedule, very, very busy schedule, I got to know go through. When I was talking to Anand, I said that he just slept at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's something that is really new normal for him, managing a very big business scale. Thanks, Anand, for being there. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.